Hi everyone, welcome to this video tutorial where today we'll be talking about a couple of questions that came up in the recent mock exam that many of us got wrong. So I know it's something that we need to address, and they're quite important things, so we need to make sure that we really understand this today, okay? Now, not everybody got these questions wrong, but quite a few got these questions wrong. Almost the majority, I think, in both cases. So let's make sure that we understand this. Because like I said, they're very important. So the first one relates to Bodmas, okay? Now, this is a question that was in the exam. Now, it might be the case that you, watching this, got this question correct. So don't change your answer. Try to remember what it is you said, and then you'll see if you're right. Now, it's important that you don't change your answer. And the reason for that is because I want you to remember what it is you said and then see where you went wrong, okay? If you did go wrong, okay? Because some did get it right. Okay, so we've got a question on the screen and it says, what is the solution to 14 subtract 3 times 7 add 6? Now, at the bottom, it says we must always use Bodmas. Bodmas isn't an individual maths unit, which we use sometimes. Bodmas is used all the time. Whenever we do maths, Bodmas isn't a separate thing. We always use Bodmas, okay? Always. So whenever you see a question that has different operations, so we've got subtract, multiply, add. Whenever you see any question that has different operations, we must use Bodmas. We can't just do it in a straightforward linear way. We must use Bodmas, okay? So what is Bodmas before we answer this question? Bodmas stands for, we've got B, brackets, O, order, D, divide, M, multiply, A, add, and S, subtract. Okay, now all of those words are pretty obvious except for the O that can be a bit tricky, okay? O basically refers to numbers with powers. So it refers to those little numbers we get floating in the top right corner. So squared numbers, cube numbers. Anytime you see a little number in the top right corner, that is what the O refers to, orders, okay? But besides that, we know what brackets are, we know what division is and multiplication is, and we know what addition is and subtraction is, okay? Now let's talk about why they are separated and in the same colors. So B is first, which means whenever we see a bracket in a question, that bit is done first. The bracket is always done first, okay? Then we move on, if there's no brackets or we've done the brackets, we move on to any orders. So any number that has a floating number in the top right corner, any powers, squared, cubed, and we do those after the brackets. Once we've done the brackets and orders, we then move on to D and M at the same time, okay? Now, they have the same value, which means we don't necessarily do divide before multiply. We do whichever comes first, okay? So if a division comes first, we do that. If the multiplication comes first, we do that, okay? And then after that, we do our addition and subtraction, okay? And once again, they have the same value. So we don't necessarily do the addition before the subtraction. We do whichever comes first out of those two, okay? So if subtraction comes first, we do that. If addition comes first, we do that. And that's it, okay? So we look for the brackets, then we look for the orders, then we look for the division and multiplication, and then the addition and the subtraction. And we do it in that order. It's so important that we do it in that order or our answer is going to be wrong, okay? So now that we've spoken about that, let's look at that question. Now, try to remember what it is you said and let's see if you were correct, okay? So we've got 14 subtract 3 multiplied by 7 plus 6. So what operations do I have? I've got subtract, multiply, and add. So I've got that one, no, that one. Which one comes first? The multiply. We must do the multiplication first. So it says 14 subtract 3 times 7 plus 6. So this section I need to do first. 3 multiplied by 7. Okay. So 3 times 7 is 21, right? Which means this section here, I'm now going to rewrite it as 21. Okay. And that's it. Next, I've got 14 subtract 21 plus 6. So what operations do we have left? We have subtract and add, and look, they're both the same value. Okay, so we do whichever comes first. So we just do the subtract first. Okay, 14 subtract 21. This is where I know quite a few people went wrong. We've got to get it out of our heads that things are impossible in maths. A lot of people, a lot of students, when they see 14 subtract 21, they think to themselves that it's impossible. They think, well, we can't take 21 away from 14. So and what many students do is they turn it around and then they do 21 minus 14, which gives you a completely different answer. You can't just turn this question around, okay? If you did that, the question would become 21 minus 14, which gives you 7, okay? And then you do 7 plus 6 is 13, and that's wrong. And the fact that there's a minus 13 in the as one of the options might make you pick that, okay? So we must do it in the correct order, otherwise we're going to get the wrong answer, okay? So let's go back to this step and do it the correct way. So we've got 14 subtract 21. Yes, we can do that, okay? It is not impossible, and we should know this. So hopefully you'll remember this now, okay? You can always take a bigger number away from a smaller number. How do we do it? Well, imagine we were taking 14 away from 14. We'd be at 0, yeah? If we had 14 and took 14 away, we'd have nothing, right? But we're not taking 14 away. We're taking 21 away, which is another 7. I need to take another 7 away from 0, okay? So what's 0? Take away 7. If we're at 0 and we go back 7, where do we end up? Of course, we end up at minus 7. All right, so now that I've done 14 subtract 21, I've got the answer minus 7. I'm going to write it in this space. And now minus 7 plus 6. Okay, so I'm at minus 7. I need to add 6, so I'm going to get closer to 0. Okay, so let's do minus 7 plus 6. Minus 6, minus 5, minus 4, minus 3, minus 2, minus 1. I ended up at minus 1. So the correct answer is minus 1. Be careful when you're adding 6 to minus 7. Don't go the wrong way. Minus 8, minus 9, minus 10. It feels like you should, but remember, once we get to negative numbers, the numbers appear to be getting larger, but actually they're getting further away from 0. So they're getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So be careful with that, okay? All right, now, if you did get this right in the exam, and very few people did, but if you did, brilliant. Don't change your method. You got it correct. If you didn't, please try to remember this. And we've got some more practice now. Here's some more questions, okay? So what I'd like you to do is pause the video and answer all 5 questions, okay? Answer all 5 of them. Then once you've answered all 5 of them, play the video and let's see how well you've done, okay? All right, if you're watching this bit, it means that you've attempted all 5 questions. You've got an answer for all 5 questions. So let's go through it. So we've got add, multiply, subtract, multiply. So what comes first out of add, multiply, subtract, and multiply? Of course, multiply comes first, okay? So we need to do all multiplication before we do anything else. We've got 2 bits of multiplication, so we just do it in order, okay? So we've got 5 times 6 that we need to do, and we've got 3 times 12 that we need to do. So let's do those. So 5 times 6 is 30. And 3 times 12 is 36. Okay, so now my question is 4 plus 30, subtract 36. So 4 plus 30 is 34. 34 minus 36 isn't impossible. 34 minus 36, let's write it down over here. 34 minus 36. Okay, now I know that if I take 34 away from 34, I'm going to be at 0. But I need to take another 2 away because I'm not taking 34 away. I'm taking 36 away, which is 2 more. So I've got to take 2 more away from 0. So what's 0? Subtract 2. Of course, it's minus 2, negative 2. Okay, so well done if you've got that one. Then we've got add, divide, add, multiply. So we've got, let's clear the screen. Sorry guys, let me just clear this screen. Otherwise it gets a bit confusing. Okay, so we've got add, multiply, add, and add, divide, add, and multiply. So we've got add, divide, and multiply. We don't have any other operations. So what do we do first? We do the D and M first. So the division and the multiplication, whatever comes first. So 21 divided by 3 comes first. So what is 21 divided by 3? It's 7. So this section is now 7. So use a different pen color. Sorry, guys, 2 seconds. So it's very tricky to do sometimes. All right. So now we've got 9 plus 7 plus 4 times 5. Remember, we don't do the addition yet. We've still got another multiplication to do. So 4 multiplied by 5. And what's the answer to that? Of course, it's 20. So let's cover that up. By the way, when you're working this out, you don't have to cover up these numbers and rewrite these numbers. You can do it all in your head, but I recommend that if you're confused by Bodmas, you do it this way first. Until you're very used to it, and then you can probably do it all in your head. But please don't try to do it in your head until you're very comfortable with the idea of Bodmas, okay? So now we've only got addition left, so let's just finish off the question in the normal way. So 9 plus 7 is 16. 16 plus 20 is 36. Okay. All right. Before I go any further, what I like to do and what you should do is check your answers to make sure that you're doing the right thing. Okay. So I'm going to ask the answer to these questions. Okay. So Alexa, what is 4 plus 5 times 6 minus 3 times 12?
4 plus 5 times 6 minus 3 times 12 is minus 2.
Alexa, what is 9 plus 21 divided by 3 plus 4 times 5?
9 plus 21 divided by 3 plus 4 times 5 is 36.
Okay, so I know that I'm doing the right thing. Now, if you check your answers, if you're practicing, you check your answers and you see that you're not correct, you need to stop. You need to stop and figure out what it is you're doing wrong and then fix it, okay? So let's look at the third one. We've got 6 subtract 7 times 3 plus 2 times 5. So let's see, which operations are we dealing with? We've got subtraction, we've got multiplication, we've got addition, and we've got another multiplication. So which one am I doing first? Of course, I'm doing all the multiplying first, okay? So I'm doing 7 times 3, which I know is 21. And 2 times 5, which I know is 10. And what am I left with? I've got 6 subtract 21 plus 10. Excuse me. Right, so this first question is a bit tricky, isn't it? 6 subtract 21 is not the same as 21 subtract 6. You can't just move them about. You can't make them change places and do 21 subtract 6. So many students do it. We can't do it, okay? It doesn't work. So 6 take away 21. So let's write it over here. All right, now I know that 6 take away 6 is 0, but I'm not taking away 6. I'm taking away 21. So I need to take away another 15, okay? So 0 take away 15 gives me minus 15. Okay, so now I've got minus 15 over here. Remember, I'm only working it out like this just to break it down completely. We don't have to work it out like this. I'm sure there are much tidier ways of doing it. All right, minus 15 plus 10. Minus 15 plus 10, what does that give us? It gives us minus 5, not minus 25, okay? If we're adding to a negative number, our number appears to get smaller, but of course it's getting larger because we're going closer and past 0, back to the larger numbers, okay? So the answer is minus 5. Now let's just check my answer to make sure I'm correct. If I'm wrong, then I'll look at what it is I did wrong, okay? So Alexa, 6 subtract 7 times 3 plus 2 times 5.
6 minus 7 times 3 plus 2 times 5 is minus 5.
Okay, it's correct. Let's look at the next one. We have got 12 subtract 3 times 5 subtract 4. But in this question, we have brackets. Okay. Now, what does brackets means? Well, it means that some of our question has been chunked into an area that we need to do first because Bodmas begins with B. So I've got to do all the brackets first. So anything within the bracket must come first, okay? Now, when we're inside this bracket, we still use Bodmas. So we do multiplication before division, Okay, so we do the multiply first and the subtraction, sorry. We do multiply first and the subtraction after, okay? So we do 3 times 5, which is 15. Okay, done that bit. 3 times 5, 15. And then I've got 15 subtract 4. It's still in the bracket. I haven't finished this bracket yet. I haven't finished all of the operations inside this bracket. So I need to keep going. 15 take away 4 is 11. And now I have done everything in the bracket. I'm just left with 12 subtract 11, which I know is 1. Let's check to see if we're correct. So Alexa, what is 12 subtract bracket 3 times 5 minus 4 bracket?
12 minus 3 times 5 minus 4 is minus 7.
They haven't recognized the bracket. So I've just checked my answer and it has not recognized the bracket. So I don't think you can rely on for a question like this. So check it with your calculator, but do make sure that you do your brackets first. Interestingly though, Alexa, repeat answer.
Sorry, there is nothing to repeat.
Alexa, what is 12 subtract bracket 3 times 5 subtract 4 bracket?
Sorry, I'm not sure about that.
Okay, let's just forget that one, right? So I was just going to figure out why she got the answer she did. And what I imagined happened is she forgot about the brackets. Yeah, she didn't use the brackets. So yeah, make sure we do our brackets first. Okay, it's very, very, very important that we do our brackets first. Okay, final question. Final question, okay, is 3 multiplied by 2 squared times 5. Now remember, which letter of Bodmas is represented by the power numbers, by the squared numbers, the little floating numbers in the top right-hand corner? Is O, yeah? Orders represents these sorts of numbers, 2 squared. So we've got to do those before the multiplications, okay? Because O is here and multiplied comes after it. So we must do this section first. So 2 squared, 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, so now we've got 3 times 4 times 5. So 3 times 4 is 12. 12 times 5 is 60. Okay, let's ask Alexa. Alexa, what is 3 multiplied by 2 squared multiplied by 5?
3 times 2 squared times 5 is 60.
Okay, and we're done. All right, now, next thing I'd like to do is I want to go revisit number 4 because I don't want you to be confused by Alexa's answer. So I'm going to try and show you a different way. So give me 1 second, see if I can load up a calculator. Let's have a look. Okay. All right, I've got a calculator on the screen. So I'm going to check my answer using a calculator rather than Alexa. So that's my recommendation. If you've been checking your answers using Alexa, make sure that you do check any questions with brackets using a calculator, okay? So let me share this calculator with you. Share screen. Sorry guys, I don't know how to get this calculator on the screen. I'll get it sorted in a second. Bear with me, guys. Why is this calculator not loading? Here we go. Got it. All right. So all I've done is put into Google calculator online. Okay. And now we're going to use this calculator to just check that question, check that number 4, because I don't want to be confused with what Alexa said. Okay. So we've got 12 subtract 3 times 5 subtract 4, but the 3 times 5 subtract 4 is in brackets. Okay. So let's write it in that calculator. So we've got 12 subtract brackets And then we have 3 times 5 subtract 4. 3 times 5 subtract 4, closed bracket, equals 1. Okay, the answer is 1, like we thought it was, okay? So well done if you said 1. But the reason I want to show you this is because I want you to make sure that when we're checking our answer, we can't always rely on the thing that I've been using. And sometimes, perhaps maybe it's best to use a calculator for all of them, but just trust your answer, okay? Make sure that we do the brackets first, and then our answer is going to be good. All right, so let's move on. That is Bodmas sorted. And hopefully, I'm hoping that it made perfect sense. Now, if it doesn't make perfect sense, making your own Bodmas questions isn't that difficult. Okay, all you need to do is write a question with a few different operations in. Make some questions up yourself. Okay, so for example, I could do it right now. What I could do is I could do, I don't know, 23 plus 2 times 4. I could do something like that, couldn't I? And I could use Bodmas to solve it. So 23 plus 2 I would not do first, would I? Because multiplication comes before addition. Okay, so I do 2 times 4 is 8. And then we've solved that bit. So the question becomes 23 plus 8, which is 31. Let's check. Alexa, what is 23 plus 2 times 4?
23 plus 2 times 4 is 31.
Okay, so give it a go yourself. Make some practice questions or ask for your parents' help to go onto the internet and find. There's loads. And if you just write Bodmas questions into Google and click images, you get lots and lots and lots of different worksheets. This is where I've got these from on the screen right here. Okay. All right. So one more thing I want to talk about with you is percentages. Now, there was a question in the exam about boots. Do you remember? And so many people put the same answer. I know why you put the answer that you put, but the person that made the exam made you pick that. They tricked you into picking that. Okay, and let me explain why. We can't be fooled. We've got to make sure that we're not being tricked. Okay, but a few of us were tricked. A pair of boots costs £24. During a sale, the price of the boots is reduced by 20%. Let me just hide my camera because I might be covering some of this screen. Okay, a pair of boots costs £24. During a sale, the price of the boots is reduced by 20%. What is the new price of the boots? Okay, all right, so we've got our boots, which is £24. I'm going to write that on the screen. We know that's important information. And we've got the fact that it's reduced by 20%. Now, what so many of you did, which was really good, by the way, is you found 20% of 24, which is quite impressive, yeah? So what is 20% of 24? Well, let's look at the pounds for a second. Here's our number 24. If we want to find 20%, we know what we need to do. Firstly, we want to find 10%. We find 10% by imagining a decimal point at the end and moving it once to the left. We divide it by 10, okay? So we get 2.4. Now that's 10%. 10% is 2.4. If I know that 10% is 2.4, 20% must be double that because 20% is double 10%. So 20% must be double 2.4, which is 4.8. Now, if we change it back into money, 4.8 becomes £4.80. And this is where quite a few of you saw £4.80 and you're working out and thought, yes, it must be correct because it's one of the options. No, it isn't correct. It is not correct. Let me explain why, okay? Our boots are not 20% of their normal price. They are 20% reduced, 20% off. We're taking 20% off the normal price. We're reducing the normal price, £24, by 20%. So we've got to take £4.80 away from £24, okay? So the question becomes 24 subtract £4.80, okay? Which gives us £19.20, okay? Be very, 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 very careful. If you're doing any other maths exam, SATs or later on in life, GCSEs, and you find 20% and you get £4.80 and you forget to take it away from 24, you might get half a mark, you might get 1 mark because you're working out was on the right track, you're doing everything right, you just got a bit confused. But in an exam like the 11 plus, where you can pick one answer, we can't be making that mistake. Okay, we must make sure that we read and understand the question very, very carefully. So the answer would be £19.20. Okay. Like I said, many people picked 480. But well done if you did say 1920. Please remember this though. It's all about the language. Okay, it's been reduced by 20%. That's the important thing. It's the language. Okay. Excuse me. All right. Let's try this one. A television costs £400. During a sale, the price of the television is reduced by 15%. What is the new price of the television? Pause the video. Have a go. Get an answer in your head. When you've got the answer, play the video. Let's see if you're correct. Okay. If you're watching this, it means you've answered this question. Let's work it out. So a television costs £400. During the sale, the television is reduced by 15%. So my first step is to find 15% of 400. Well, what is 10%? Let's find 10% first. Remember, we imagine a decimal point at the end and we move it once to the left. So 10% of 400 is 40. Okay, we've got 40.0, which is just 40. Yeah. So if I know that 10% is 40, this is 10%. I want to find 15%. I know what 10% is. Let's work out what 5% is. If 10% is 40, 5% must be 20. Because 5% is half of 10%. 20 is half of 40. So 10% is 40, 5% is 20. 10% and 5% added together is 15%. So 40 and 20 added together is 60, which means 15% is equal to 60. Okay, so 15% is equal to 60. And in this case, the context is pounds. Okay, so £60. All right, now let's go back to the question. Now that we've found 15%, which we know is £60, the television is reduced by 15%. It's reduced by £60, which means the answer is 400 subtract £60, which is 340. And that's the answer. The answer is £340. If you put £60, you're doing the working out quite well, but you're missing the most important part of the question, which is the language. Okay, it's reduced by 15%. Okay, we've got another one to do. Data is collected from 480 students. 20% of the students have green eyes. How many students have green eyes? Pause the video, get an answer, play the video when you're done. Okay, let's work this one out. So data is collected from 480 students. 20% of the students have green eyes. All right, so we've got 480 students and we want to find 20%. Yeah, so 480. How do we find 20%? Well, we can find 10% and double it, can't we? How do we find 10%? We divide it by 10. Imagine a decimal point at the end. Move it once to the left. 10% is 48. If 10% is 48, 20% is, well, 20% is double 10%, right? So if we double 48, we're going to get 20%. So 48 times 2 is 96. So 96 is equal to 20%. 20% of 480 is 96. But we don't take 96 away from 480, do we? The answer is just 96. We're done. If you took 96 away from 480, you're still getting a bit confused with this language, okay? It says data is collected from 480 students. 20% of the students have green eyes. How many have green eyes? 20%, 96. We're not being asked to take anything away. We're just being asked to find 20% of 480. Alexa, what is 20% of 480?
20% of 480 is 96.
Okay, and once you've checked your answer and you see that you're correct, you know you're using the method, the process correctly, okay? So, once again, with your parents' help, ask to get some percentage questions and practice, especially if you didn't get these correct, okay? Again, you know, ask with your parents' permission, go into Google, write in percentage questions, and there will be loads and loads and loads and loads of worksheets. But just do me a favor, if you do that, make sure you put something like percentage questions, year 5 or year 6. I know you're year 5, but year 6 is going to be very similar, okay? Because otherwise you might get some really, really complex ones for much older learners, okay? So hopefully this has cleared a few things up for most of us. We don't want to be making that Bodmas mistake again, and we want to be careful with our percentage language. Okay, those are 2 things to take away from this video. I hope this has helped. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.